Take what is ours, claim what is yours.
This is one of my favorite topics. I believe that we're actually designed to live in bliss, and that is a much more natural way for us to be alive and to create our life and our living from than a lot of the old world energies that we've been playing in. And so I'm just going to talk about the old world energies and the new world energies for a minute. Um, it seems like everywhere I'm looking, there's like prophecy of a time that there's like heaven on earth, and that um, in the Bible they talk about it. In the yogis are talking about. They talk about in 700 years is the next Manu, the next humanity, the template for humanity. And so we're at a really exciting time where we get to really explore what it actually is to be human. And what if it's none of the things that we've perceived it to be or been taught it is? And so that's really where I'd like to play tonight. It's like, what if we could go beyond all of the rules and the constructs of what we've been taught life and living in our bodies are, and step into perhaps a greater possibility of that, and a greater and our capacity to actually embody that and bring those energies here. Because I believe for us, I talked the other day a little bit about people being homesick for an energy or a quality or a comfort. And so, what if that homesickness feeling is just um, a stimulus to inspire us to embody our home energies here, and to bring the grace and the elegance and the bliss and the joy and the beauty and the sweetness of that here, um, for ourselves, but also to be like kind of an emissary of what's possible. Because sometimes just seeing somebody living in a certain way, it's like we realize that there's more on the menu than we've offered ourselves yet. And so, wouldn't it be fun to live as the full emanation of what you truly are here on the planet in your body? And wouldn't it be fun if our bodies were designed for that, and we were designed for that, and we actually started to acknowledge that, and to um, stimulate, instead of stimulating the old world patterns in our bodies over and over again, starting to stimulate our bodies and invite our bodies to play in the grace of what we truly are. Um, yeah. Oh, 3 questions to start. Okay, so I'm just going to ask these 3 questions, and you can ask yourselves these questions, and they are designed to open up space for us to optimize our time here together. And these questions are good to ask anytime, anywhere, really. And I believe the more we ask them, the more we open the doors of possibility for ourselves. So the first question, would I be willing to allow it to be different now? And sometimes we're not, right? And that's okay too. And the workaround with that is, would I be willing to allow it to be different? And that's just telling our bodies that it's okay. There's a different way to be alive that we just are going to try. It's okay. And so the next one, would I be willing to receive greater than I had imagined possible? This takes us beyond our habitual parameters and constructs of what we're willing to receive and what we're not willing to receive. So would you be willing to receive greater than you had imagined possible? And the last question, would I be willing to surrender the old world energies or the old patternings in favor of being the source of the life, living, and world that I know is possible? So, or the life, living, and world that I'm designed to live as and in. Okay. So this. So cool. This body. I know some of you've heard me talk about this before. One of the happiest days of my life is when I heard that humans have bliss bodies. So nobody had ever told me that before, and I've been on the planet a while, so I was a little bit shocked and amazed and delighted. So, would you be willing to acknowledge that you have a bliss body? Yes. Would you be willing to acknowledge, as if you've been acknowledging your whole life, that you knew you had a bliss body and that it existed and that it was an option? So I'd be willing to give myself the option. So we're just going to run our hand over our governing meridian. And this just allows us to remove old patterns elegantly and easily from our system and to put in the energy and information that would be more nurturing and life bringing to us. So, would you be willing to acknowledge that you have a bliss body? And if you'd known you had a bliss body your whole life, would you have started exploring where it was or bringing it online at a lot way before now? And so, what if you'd always known that you had a bliss body and had brought it online from the very beginning instead of waiting till now? So, what if somebody told you, like when you were 2 years old, you have a bliss body, darling? Run with it. This is what you're designed for. Never mind how other people are playing or aren't playing. Don't take them too seriously. You, darling, have a bliss body. So, would you be willing to just let that stream of information trickle and fill your whole timeline? I have a bliss body. So sometimes I can see, you could imagine skipping along your timeline to every age you've ever been and every you've ever been and going, guess what, darling? We have a bliss body. We have a bliss body. Would you like to bring it online? And what would it be to be alive as that, as if you'd always been alive as that? And what if it doesn't have to be a linear event? You can take it from now all the way down into forever. And people will be wondering how you got to be so happy your whole life. Would you be willing to confound them with your bliss body? Yes. And yeah. So would you be willing to acknowledge? So acknowledgement is one of the most important things we can do. Because unless we acknowledge something as being real, it actually doesn't exist in our universe. And so would you be willing to acknowledge that you have a bliss body and that your bliss body is as is alive and well? And would you be willing to perceive it and to be aware of it functioning through your whole life? And would you be willing to allow every cell, atom, and molecule of your body to receive um, that information? So as they see things from the micro to the macro, and so like I see like at the smallest little tiny element and then the biggest element, and those things spread all the way through. Exist if they exist in one, they exist in the other. So allowing every cell and atom and molecule to know that they have a bliss body. Yeah, and every okay. Ooh, our data storage bank. So we've gone around on the planet collecting information and identifying with all kinds of random things. And as we identify with them, or we make judgments about whether things are right or wrong, somehow we become identified with those as ourselves. And so, would you be willing to allow all the right, wrong, good, bad, the storage places you have for the identifications of who you are and who you are not, and who other people are and who other people are not, and what the world is and what the world is not? And just allowing. those to receive the information of the bliss body instead. So it's like, what would be more fun to play in? So would you be willing to surrender just as much as you're able, and just for now, the complete information package of those identifications in favor of experiencing what it would be to be alive as bliss? Mhm. So, what would it be to be bliss? And invite every atom, cell, molecule, structure, system in your whole body to attune to that. So, you can ask your mental body, brain, thoughts, what would it be to be alive as bliss? You can ask your emotional body, what would it be to be alive as bliss? You can ask your nervous system, what would it be to be alive as bliss? Hmm. You can ask your eyes, what would it be to perceive bliss, to see bliss? Ears, what would it be to be bliss, to be hearing bliss? Throat, what would it be to be speaking bliss, be emanating the language, the light, the frequencies, the full information of that with every word? And heart, what would it be to be beating in the rhythm of bliss? They say our heart puts out a field around us that's huge. So, what would it be like if our heart was emanating and resonating to that and creating an environment that not just was our interior environment, but also filled the whole room? And really, you could expand that so big that it fills your whole house, fills our whole country, fills the whole world. And so, what if we stood in the middle of the planet and put the planet in our heart and we made ourselves that big? And then we were willing to have our heart function as a bliss generator. And so, would you be willing to acknowledge you have the capacity to be? And would you be willing to just for now put the planet in your heart and allow it to bask in your bliss and be the contribution of that to the planet and to all beings? And subjective too is if you'd lived your whole life being the generator of bliss for the planet. And what if you'd always known that was your purpose function and your highest ideal? Because what if that's what being human, we think being human is getting jobs done and doing things and surviving, but what if the highest ideal of a human is actually fully activating your bliss body and allowing that to guide your life and inspire creation? Oh, and the storm of bliss. Okay, so close your eyes for just a moment. Let's just do this. Ah, like we try to contain our energy so much and turn it down and keep ourselves so like in the right place and in linearity and whatever. So would you be willing to be the storm of bliss and just let it run like wild everywhere? Storm of bliss, just raining down on everyone and everything and all of life. The wildness and the lightning and the thunder and the rolling clouds and the power and the velocity and the just rawness of that uncontainable energy. And would you be willing to allow that storm energy to like just ripple through your whole mind, your whole body, your emotional body, your mental body, and just, yeah. There's a saying, it says, I'm not afraid of the storm, I am the storm. Would you be willing to be the storm of bliss? And allow that to break through every construct you've ever had or ever imagined or anything you've ever perceived or seen anyone else doing. And allow that to break through all the justifications and just storm all the justifications for limiting and all the unwillingness, allowing the storm energy just to like ripple through all those storm energy of bliss, just firing every cell, atom, and molecule of your body. We have so much energy in our body, we can actually light up a whole city for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So, like, unleash that energy, that raw presence of you everywhere. Just let it rip. The rules no longer apply. It's time to come alive, fully alive, vibrantly alive, delightfully alive, as nature intended. So, allowing it all the old world energies and all the dead people we're carrying around and all their dead ideas, just let that storm energy go. And everywhere we've been taught carrying their dead ideas and energies was love. We let them go. That means that we don't love. Storm energy, more storm energy. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Hmm. What if you allowed your emotional body to be fully like that? Just for now, like try it on for like 1 second. Your emotional body was just firing that kind of energy everywhere, spinning that kind of energy and dancing in that kind of energy. And if your mental body was like, yeah, if your thoughts were traveling those kind of energies and they were like inspired by those kind of energies, and allow that to fill like your whole timeline. Just, ooh la la. Yes, darling, I'll have some of that, please. I'll have more of that. I'll have the whole of that. Everywhere, 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 through all time and space, through all dimensions, through all realities. Unleash that wildness of it was never meant to be squished in a little box ever. So everywhere we misidentified that we were supposed to squish into a box rather than being the great and glorious and beautiful storm that we actually are. Ooh, la, la.